The Untold Life of King David, Secrets, Triumphs, and a Heart for God. Welcome to Daily Bible. If you're new here, this is the channel where we uncover the most intriguing, mysterious, and inspiring stories from the Bible. Today we're diving deep into the life of King David, one of the most fascinating figures in history. His story is filled with unexpected twists, profound lessons, and secrets that many don't know about. If you want to continue exploring the Bible's greatest tales, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a story. Now let's begin. What if the greatest king in Israel's history was also one of the most complicated and misunderstood figures of all time? King David's story is not just about heroism and divine favor. It's about betrayal, scandal, and the hidden struggles of a man chosen by God. How does a shepherd boy rise to defeat giants, write immortal poetry, lead a nation, and endure some of the most heartbreaking trials imaginable? Today, we'll uncover the untold secrets of King David's life, diving into the mysterious, the inspiring, and the deeply human side of this legendary figure. Stay with me as we unravel the extraordinary journey of a man after God's own heart. David's story begins in the most unlikely place, a field outside Bethlehem. He wasn't born into royalty or privilege. Instead, he was the youngest of 8 brothers, tasked with tending sheep. Imagine a young boy under the vast open sky, playing his harp and singing songs of worship to God. It was during these lonely, quiet moments that David learned lessons in courage and faith. When wild animals like lions and bears threatened his flock, David didn't run in fear. He fought them with nothing but his sling and a staff, honing the skills and bravery that would later define him. These were not just acts of physical strength. They were tests of his reliance on God, preparing him for the moment he would step onto the world stage. That moment came when the prophet Samuel visited David's family. God had rejected King Saul, Israel's first king, and sent Samuel to anoint Saul's successor. Jesse, David's father, presented all his older sons, strong, tall, and seemingly qualified, but none of them were chosen. Samuel asked, "Are these all the sons you have?" Only then did Jesse mention David, who was out in the fields. When David was brought in, God spoke to Samuel, "Rise and anoint him. This is the one." Imagine being anointed as king while still smelling of sheep and sweat, with no idea how such a destiny could ever unfold. But David's journey had only just begun. David's first taste of fame came not through politics or power, but on the battlefield. Goliath, a Philistine giant standing over 9 feet tall, had been terrorizing Israel's army for 40 days. Armed with a spear the size of a weaver's rod, Goliath struck fear into the hearts of seasoned warriors. But David saw things differently. When he arrived to deliver food to his brothers, he heard Goliath's taunts and was outraged. "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" David declared. Refusing King Saul's armor, David stepped onto the battlefield armed with only his sling, 5 smooth stones, and unshakable faith. He said to Goliath, "You come against me with sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." With one precise shot, David's stone struck Goliath's forehead, and the giant fell. The young shepherd had become a national hero overnight. But with fame came danger. King Saul, once a supporter of David, grew consumed with jealousy as David's popularity soared. Saul's paranoia spiraled out of control, and he made multiple attempts on David's life. David fled into the wilderness, living as a fugitive. He hid in caves, wandered through deserts, and even sought refuge among Israel's enemies. Imagine being anointed as king but living like an outlaw, constantly looking over your shoulder. Yet during these years of exile, David's faith remained steadfast. He poured his heart out to God in the Psalms, many of which were written during this tumultuous time. In one of them, David wrote, "The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock in whom I take refuge." His songs weren't just prayers, they were cries of a man clinging to hope in the darkest of times. If you're finding this story as captivating as we do, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to Daily Bible. There's so much more to discover in the lives of biblical figures, and subscribing ensures you never miss these incredible stories. David's integrity was tested repeatedly during these years. Twice he had the chance to kill Saul and end his suffering, but he refused. In one instance, David crept into Saul's camp while he slept and cut off a corner of his robe. Later, David held up the piece of fabric and said, "I will not lay my hand on the Lord's anointed." His restraint wasn't just about sparing Saul's life. It was about trusting God's timing. David knew that the throne would be his one day, but he refused to take matters into his own hands. When Saul and his son Jonathan were killed in battle, David's time finally came. He was anointed king over Judah and later over all Israel. As king, David united the tribes, expanded Israel's territory, and established Jerusalem as the nation's capital. He brought the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem, solidifying its place as the spiritual center of the nation. David's reign was marked by military victories, economic prosperity, and a renewed focus on worship. Yet even as a man after God's own heart, David was not immune to failure. One of the most infamous chapters in David's life was his affair with Bathsheba. One evening, while walking on the roof of his palace, David saw Bathsheba bathing. Overcome with desire, he summoned her, and she became pregnant. To cover up his sin, David arranged for her husband, Uriah, to be placed on the front lines of battle, where he was killed. David thought he had hidden his wrongdoing, but God saw everything. The prophet Nathan confronted David with a parable about a rich man who stole a poor man's lamb. When David expressed outrage at the rich man, Nathan declared, "You are the man." David was devastated. He fell to his knees in repentance, pouring out his heart in Psalm 51, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me." Though God forgave David, the consequences of his sin were severe. His family was plagued by turmoil and tragedy. His son Amnon committed a horrific act against his half-sister Tamar, and another son, Absalom, killed Amnon in revenge. Absalom later led a rebellion against David, forcing him to flee Jerusalem. Despite Absalom's betrayal, David's love for his son never wavered. When Absalom was killed in battle, David wept bitterly, saying, "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died in your place." Despite his failures, David remained devoted to God. One of his greatest dreams was to build a temple for the Lord. However, God revealed that this task would be carried out by David's son, Solomon. Instead of feeling defeated, David spent his later years preparing for the temple's construction. He gathered materials, designed plans, and inspired the people of Israel to contribute generously. David's vision for the temple reflected his deep desire to honor God and create a lasting legacy of worship. David's reign lasted 40 years, but his influence extended far beyond his lifetime. Through his lineage came the Messiah, Jesus Christ, fulfilling the covenant God made with him. David's story is a powerful reminder that God can use imperfect people to accomplish his purposes. Despite his flaws, David was a man after God's own heart because he never stopped seeking him. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of King David. If this story has inspired you, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to Daily Bible. Stay tuned for more captivating stories from the Bible that reveal timeless truths and lessons for our lives today. Until next time, may you be blessed and encouraged to pursue a heart after God, just as David did.